Hey Reddit, throw away because this still gets under my skin, even years later. I'm Alex, 38M, and I've spent most of my life feeling like a shadow next to my identical twin brother, Ethan. From the moment we were born, it felt like Ethan was destined for greatness, while I was just there. He excelled at everything: academics, sports, you name it. Our parents, Mark, 68M, and Susan, 65F, were understandably proud, but their pride often felt like a subtle dismissal of my own interests. Ethan went straight into business school, aced his MBA, and now he's a VP at Global Tech, a massive corporation. The golden boy, through and through. Me? My passion lay in the greasy, intricate world of mechanics. While Ethan was dissecting business strategies, I was happiest with my hands under the hood of a car, figuring out how things worked, how to make them better, faster, stronger. Our family never quite understood it. They'd nod politely when I talked about engines or custom builds, but their eyes always held this unspoken question, this quiet disappointment that I hadn't followed Ethan's more promising path. It was like my passion was a cute hobby, not a legitimate pursuit. Despite the subtle, and sometimes not so subtle, disapproval, I followed my own path. I started Phoenix Expeditions in a small, rundown garage, fueled by a stubborn belief in my vision. I specialized in custom vehicle modifications, catering to off-road enthusiasts who demanded performance and reliability. It was grueling work, long hours, and constant financial juggling, but I loved it. I was building something tangible, something innovative, something that was entirely mine. Slowly, through word of mouth and a reputation for quality, Phoenix Expeditions began to grow. We moved to a bigger workshop, hired a small team, and started taking on more complex projects, specialized vehicles for research teams, durable transport for remote expeditions. My parents would occasionally ask about the business, their inquiries polite but superficial. "How's the shop, Alex?" my mom would say, her tone suggesting it was akin to collecting stamps. The conversation would invariably pivot back to Ethan's latest achievement, his new corner office, the prestigious project he was leading. Ethan, to his credit, wasn't malicious. He'd sometimes visit my workshop, admire the powerful machinery, and say things like, "This is really cool, Alex." But even he seemed to view it as a successful small venture, never quite grasping the scale of the operation I was building. Years passed. Phoenix Expeditions evolved into a leading name in specialized vehicle solutions. We were bidding on major government contracts, our designs were cutting edge, and our reliability was unmatched. Then came the opportunity of a lifetime, a $25 million contract with Global Tech. The irony wasn't lost on me. After years of being the lesser twin, my company was about to become a crucial partner to Ethan's corporate empire. The contract was for designing and manufacturing a fleet of highly specialized vehicles for a major scientific expedition to Antarctica. It was a technically demanding project, requiring innovative engineering and meticulous attention to detail. My team and I poured everything we had into it, working closely with Global Tech's research and development to ensure every specification was met. Throughout the entire bidding and development process, I made a conscious decision not to tell my family that Phoenix Expeditions was behind the Global Tech contract. I wanted to see if they would ever connect the dots, if they would ever truly see the scale of what I had achieved. The culmination of the Antarctic Expedition project was a grand corporate gala hosted by Global Tech. It was a lavish affair, held in a swanky downtown venue, all glittering chandeliers and expensive hors d'oeuvres. Both Ethan and I received invitations. My parents were ecstatic to attend, primarily, I knew, to bask in Ethan's reflected glory and witness his involvement in such a high-profile initiative. The gala was in full swing when the formal presentations began. The CEO of Global Tech took the stage, launching into a speech about the groundbreaking research and the crucial partnerships that made it possible. He spoke of innovation, reliability, and the vital role of their specialized vehicle supplier. Then came the moment. "And now," he announced, his voice booming through the ballroom, "I'd like to give a special recognition to our invaluable partner in this endeavor, Phoenix Expeditions, and its visionary founder, Mr. Alex." A spotlight hit me. The room erupted in polite applause, but all I could see were the faces of my brother and my parents. Ethan's jaw had literally dropped. His usually composed features were contorted in utter disbelief. My parents looked as though they had just seen a ghost, their expressions a bizarre mixture of shock and utter confusion. I walked onto the stage, shaking the CEO's hand, a strange mix of pride and simmering resentment churning within me. It had taken a $25 million contract for them to finally acknowledge my existence beyond being Ethan's less successful twin. I gave a brief, professional speech, thanking my dedicated team and global tech for the incredible opportunity. I kept it concise, focusing on the technical aspects of the project, but inside, a bitter satisfaction was growing. The years of being overlooked, the subtle dismissals, the constant comparisons, they were all hanging in the air, palpable in my family's stunned silence. After the formal presentations, as the crowd mingled, Ethan approached me, his face a mask of disbelief and a sheepish kind of awe. "Alex," he stammered, his voice uncharacteristically hesitant, I had absolutely no idea. "Phoenix Expeditions? Your company? This is incredible." He looked genuinely impressed, but there was also a flicker of something else in his eyes, a hint of, what? Insecurity? Resentment that his lesser twin had achieved something of this magnitude? My parents were even more flustered. They descended upon me, showering me with effusive praise, their words tumbling over each other in their haste to acknowledge my success. "Alex, we're so proud of you. We always knew you were talented." But their tone was off, their enthusiasm feeling forced, almost performative. It was painfully clear they were desperately trying to rewrite years of subtle neglect, scrambling to reconcile the image they had constructed of me with the undeniable reality of my achievement. The hypocrisy was almost comical, if it wasn't so deeply hurtful. Then came the rage. Later that evening, after my parents had gushed over me for a while, Ethan pulled me aside, his initial shock having morphed into something darker. "You did this on purpose, didn't you?" he hissed, his voice low and tight with anger. "You knew this was global tech. You knew I was involved. You deliberately kept it from us, just to, what? Show us up?" I stared at him, taken aback by his sudden hostility. "What are you talking about, Ethan? I built this company from the ground up. This contract was a testament to years of hard work. It had nothing to do with showing you up." "Bullshit, Alex," he spat, his face contorted with a rage I hadn't seen since we were teenagers fighting over a video game. "You always had this chip on your shoulder. Always trying to prove something. And now you pull this? Making me look like I don't even know what's going on in my own company." "Ethan," I said, trying to keep my voice calm despite the rising anger within me, "your company chose the best vendor for the job. That happened to be mine. It's not my fault you and Mom and Dad never bothered to actually understand what I do." His anger only intensified. "You think you're better than us now, don't you? The successful mechanic while I'm just a corporate drone?" The insecurity in his voice was palpable, but it was overshadowed by his raw, unadulterated rage. He accused me of deliberately trying to undermine him, of enjoying his shock and my parents' sudden shift in attention. The conversation devolved into a bitter shouting match, years of unspoken resentment and sibling rivalry finally erupting into the open. Update 1. The aftermath of the gala was toxic. My parents, initially so eager to celebrate my success, became withdrawn and awkward again, caught in the crossfire of the simmering tension between Ethan and me. Ethan, fueled by a potent cocktail of wounded pride and sibling rivalry, continued to lash out. He sent me angry texts, accusing me of everything from intentionally embarrassing him at the gala to secretly relishing in his discomfort. The irony was thick. Here he was, the successful corporate VP, throwing a tantrum because his blue-collar twin brother had landed a major contract with his company based purely on merit. It laid bare the deep-seated biases that had always permeated our family dynamic. My success was only valid if it didn't somehow overshadow Ethan's perceived superiority. I tried to reason with him, to explain that my silence about the global tech contract wasn't about malice, but about a desire to be seen for my own achievements, not just as Ethan's twin. But my words fell on deaf ears. He was too consumed by his own ego and insecurity to truly listen. The strain on my relationship with my parents became unbearable. They tried to play peacemaker, but their attempts felt hollow and ultimately sided with Ethan, subtly implying that I should be more understanding of his pressure and high-stakes career. It became clear that their ingrained favoritism wasn't going to change, no matter how successful I became. To them, Ethan's corporate world would always be inherently more valuable and impressive than the tangible, innovative work I was doing. The realization was painful, but also strangely liberating. For years, I had subconsciously sought their approval, their genuine recognition. Now, faced with their unwavering bias, I finally understood that it was a validation I would likely never receive. And with that realization came a sense of clarity. I didn't need their approval to know my worth. My success spoke for itself. The decision wasn't easy, but I knew what I had to do for my own peace of mind. I began to distance myself from my family. I kept my interactions with Ethan strictly professional, limiting our communication to project-related matters. With my parents, I became polite but distant, my visits becoming less frequent, my conversations superficial. It was a painful severing of ties, a quiet acknowledgement that the family dynamic that had defined my life was fundamentally broken. There were moments of guilt, of sadness for the relationship I had always longed for but never truly had. But those moments were overshadowed by a growing sense of relief and a newfound freedom. I was no longer living in the shadow of my brother, no longer seeking validation from those who were incapable of truly seeing me. Phoenix expeditions continued to flourish. The success of the global tech contract opened doors to even more ambitious and challenging projects. I built a strong, loyal team who shared my passion and dedication. I surrounded myself with people who valued my work and celebrated my achievements without reservation. I found a sense of belonging and recognition within my own company, a family built on mutual respect and shared success. While the ending of my close relationship with my family was undeniably sad, it was also a necessary step in my journey of self-discovery and self-acceptance. I learned that family isn't always defined by blood, and that sometimes, the most important support system is the one you build for yourself. I found success and fulfillment on my own terms, finally free from the weight of their expectations and the sting of their long-standing disregard. The silence from my family was initially unsettling, but it eventually transformed into a quiet peace, a space where I could finally be unapologetically myself. Final update. Life had settled into a new rhythm after I distanced myself from my family. Phoenix Expeditions was thriving, my team was solid, and I was genuinely content. The constant need for familial validation had finally started to fade, replaced by a quiet confidence in my own achievements. I had even started casually dating someone new, someone who appreciated my work and my quiet intensity. For the first time in a long time, I felt like I was truly living on my own terms. Ethan, however, wasn't quite ready to let things go. While direct communication had ceased, I would occasionally hear through the grapevine, usually from a well-meaning but misguided aunt, that he was still seething. Apparently, my success, and the subsequent shift in my relationship with our parents, even though it was towards less contact, had become a constant source of irritation for him. He couldn't seem to reconcile the image of his lesser twin with the reality of my significant achievements. Then, about 6 months after the gala, it happened. I was at the Phoenix Expeditions workshop late one evening, overseeing the final touches on a new prototype. The team had mostly gone home, and it was just me and a couple of the night crew. The front door, which was usually locked after hours, suddenly burst open. Standing there, silhouetted against the dim streetlights, was Ethan. He looked wild. His hair was disheveled, his face flushed, and his eyes burned with a raw anger that sent a jolt of unease through me. "Alex," he spat, his voice thick with barely controlled rage. "We need to talk." I sighed, putting down the wrench I was holding. "Ethan, there's nothing to talk about. We've said everything that needs to be said." He took a step closer, his fists clenched. "Oh, I think there is. You think you're so high and mighty now, don't you? Showing us all up with your fancy trucks." The disdain in his voice was palpable. "My trucks, as you call them, are the reason your company was able to pull off a groundbreaking scientific expedition," I said, trying to keep my voice level. "They're the result of years of hard work and innovation." "You did it to spite me," he roared, taking another step closer. "You always wanted to be better than me, and now you think you finally are." "This isn't about you, Ethan," I said, my own anger starting to simmer. "This is about what I built. Something you and Mom and Dad never took seriously." His face contorted with fury. "Oh, I'll take you seriously, all right." He took another step, closing the distance between us. "I'm sick of your smug attitude, your holier-than-thou act." Before I could react, he lunged. It was clumsy, fueled more by rage than any real fighting skill. I instinctively raised my arms to defend myself. The next few moments were a chaotic blur of flailing limbs and angry grunts. I tried to de-escalate, to push him away without resorting to violence, but his anger was like a physical force. He swung wildly, catching me on the jaw. A sharp pain shot through my head, and I stumbled back. The night crew, witnessing the sudden eruption of violence, moved to intervene, but I waved them back. This was between Ethan and me, a lifetime of pent-up resentment finally spilling over. I didn't want to fight my own brother, but I wasn't going to stand there and let him attack me. I blocked another clumsy punch and managed to grab his arms, holding him at bay. Ethan, stop it. What are you doing? I'm going to wipe that smug look off your face, he snarled, struggling against my grip. His eyes were wild, filled with a primal rage that was genuinely unsettling. The fight was short-lived but brutal. I managed to maneuver him towards the door, still trying to restrain him without hurting him. He was surprisingly strong in his anger, but his lack of control was his downfall. He tripped over a toolbox, and we both went sprawling onto the concrete floor. Before he could get up, I pinned him down, my chest heaving. Ethan, listen to yourself. This is insane. What has happened to you? He just glared up at me, his face red with fury and exertion. You happened, Alex. You always had to try and outshine me. The absurdity of his words, the sheer irrationality of his rage, finally broke through my own anger. I just looked at him, my own frustration and sadness washing over me. This wasn't about success or contracts. This was about a lifetime of insecurity and sibling rivalry that had finally reached a violent breaking point. The night crew helped me get Ethan back on his feet and practically dragged him out of the workshop, warning him to stay away. I stood there, shaken and with a throbbing jaw, the silence of the workshop once again descending. But this time it was a different kind of silence, one filled with a profound sadness for the brokenness of my family and the destructive power of unchecked resentment. The fragile peace I had started to build felt shattered once again, not by external forces, but by the festering anger of the one person who should have been my closest ally.